Together we're going to share our stories, a little bit about how we've been using Mahara, and also how we've been working together to collaborate, to troubleshoot, share successes and challenges. And in a sense, we've set up a community of practice. Although we've come together around a tool, our discussions have expanded beyond just the tool itself when we talk about issues of pedagogy and assessment and all kinds of things. And you'll see some common themes in our mini presentations today. We invite you to join our conversation at Padlet. The URL is up there. I don't know if any of you have used this before, but it's a collaborative writing space. You don't need to log in. You can go to that URL and join in on our conversation. We'd like to hear what everyone has to say. Please check it out if you can. And Roger and Sam from UK will be monitoring that a bit and joining in the conversation that way too. Okay. To give you a little bit of background about our MUG group, Mahara User Group, aka MUG, we formed in 2010 when we adopted Mahara at PACE, and basically we needed help, and so we turned to our neighbors, first our local neighbors in New York, and then we expanded from there and grew nationally and internationally. And it's been a really wonderful collaboration, a real learning experience. And we meet 4 times a year virtually and face-to-face as often as we can, including annually at AAEEBL. Next week we'll be meeting at Pratt. And we also communicate via Facebook and through the Mahara User Group Wiki. And at this point, as of yesterday, we have 165 members from across the globe. So we're a growing group. We invite you to join us. And together, as I mentioned, we're sharing strategies. We're learning from one another, and we're influencing the future direction of Mahara, which is an open source e-portfolio platform. So we invite you to join our conversation, and even though you may or may not be a Mahara user, what we hope you'll take away from our presentation is the power of working together. And I thought about this morning when I dragged myself to the gym, because I didn't want to go. And when I got there, I saw a bunch of people running on treadmills already, and it felt much more motivating to go join them. And I thought it was kind of similar to our MUG group, that it's a bit of an endurance test, launching and sustaining an e-portfolio project. And it is so much better to go at it with colleagues, and especially colleagues at other institutions who are facing similar issues. And so I invite you to, if you haven't already, to reach out to other colleagues outside of your institution to help with motivation, help overcome obstacles, and help you also go the distance with your e-portfolio projects. I also want to have you hear a little bit from Roger about the international MUG movement. So we have a clip to play.
Hi, I'm Roger Emery from Solent University in the United Kingdom. I was introduced by Kristina to the guys at Pace University because we were looking to crack the same usability issues we felt that Mahara had. From this introduction, we heard about the MUG meetings and decided to do something similar this side of the Atlantic. We've set up the Southern England Mahara User Group Southern England, so MUGSI, which is steered by Solent University and the University College London, with also support from Catalyst EU. Previously, we had tacked Mahara sessions onto our local Moodle user groups, but we felt Mahara needed its own dedicated space. As Dommy Sinclair from UCL said, Mahara seems to always take second place to the VLE, but we felt it shouldn't. Meanwhile, in Scotland, our colleagues there set up the Mahara, a user group for Scottish Mahara users, and they've already moved on a bit further and had their first conference in Scotland. There are also very active user groups and conferences in Germany and in Japan, so this idea of local user groups is growing and growing around the world. There is also the Mahara UK conference, which is now in its 6th year. At this year's conference, only a couple of weeks ago, members from both the Scottish and Southern user groups got together to work out how we could share best practice and encourage others to join our user groups.
Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to our first mugger. We call ourselves muggers, but don't be afraid. My dear colleague, Linda from PACE.
Hi. I would just like to talk about how at PACE, we have used our Mahara platform, as Beth said, since 2010. We've grown tremendously since then, from a small pilot with 250 students and about 10 faculty. Now we have over 5,000 users. Our story can be seen on the Catalyst site, we've been part of the C2L grant. And so if you want to learn more about our technology story, our curriculum story, just go to that site that Brett and Laura were talking about yesterday. And we have programs from biology to English undergraduate. Many programs use the portfolio. We have graduate programs that use the portfolio. I would just like to show you one of our student samples. This is Emily. She's a sophomore. As you can see, she proudly displays her badge on her introduction page that she won from the e-portfolio contest that we had this spring. And who wouldn't be captivated by her Wordle? She's pragmatic and creative and open-minded and intellectual. I would just like to quote from her introduction because I think she really kind of expresses what she feels the portfolio is all about. I realized a piece of paper could never adequately describe all the contributions I have made, nor would a resume allow me to elaborate on the work I've done. That's where the e-portfolio came in. It's my professional online space, and she goes on to talk more about the benefits of her e-portfolio. However, there have been limitations, and we have had a problem scaling up with e-portfolio and really integrating it into the culture, getting all of our freshman seminar courses to use ePortfolio. And part of it was usability issues in terms of the steep learning curve that both faculty and students felt that they had with our Mahara platform. Here are some quotes that you can read. It's difficult to manage, the learning curve was steep, too many clicks. Some of the issues had to do with the technology. Some of the issues, of course, were general complaints. It's too much work, too stressful, that kind of thing.
What is that in English?
But Sam Egan will describe for you the way that we have been able to solve most of these problems. And a large part, of course, is due to our partnership with MUG. And not only Kristina, but also Kristina had put us in touch with Roger at Seidler University. And amazingly, they were experiencing so many of the same issues that we were. And we were able to brainstorm with them and see what they've been doing. And Sam will describe how we have overcome some of those problems.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam. So just to give you some background, this is what our logged in dashboard page looked like before we redesigned it. So when we took a hard look at it and when we conferenced with Roger and Sam from the UK, we realized that there's a lot of text on here and most people probably were not reading it as much as we thought it was beneficial. So the core thing that we got out of our Google Hangout with Sam and Roger was really to boil down each page to the main action that we wanted the users to do on that page. So with that, we installed these two create and share buttons thanks to our fabulous programming team at PACE who worked with us on this. And the create button will bring users directly to the edit page of their introduction. So no more trying to remember where to go first to edit that first introduction page. It's just one jump from there. And the share button addressed another big issue that we received from faculty. A lot of times they would tell us that their students, even though they would do great work on ePortfolio, they always forgot to set permissions so that they could see the work and grade the work on time. So that's why we knew that the share button really had to be an important part of that. So that was the end result. And since March when we installed those buttons, we've been using Google Analytics to see how often they're used, if they actually are making an impact. And since March to July, we've received 907 clicks on those buttons. So we're happy to see that faculty and students are taking advantage of those two easy buttons on the page. So now I think we're going to hear from Roger and Sam again.
That's right.
Meanwhile, over at Solent University, we've also been discussing usability with PACE, but we've gone our own separate way, but we very much like the work they've done. We've cut the login page down from its 46 links and lots of information down to a clear login page, because that's all you need to do there. This sort of inspiration is really helping us move forward with what we're doing, but we also like the work that PACE has done, so maybe we'll do something that they've done as well. Now I'm going to hand over to Sam Taylor, who's going to talk about how we've developed the contextual help. A lot of these ideas have come from the MUG meetings, but also from Mahara UK 13.
Throughout the portfolio, what we've tried to do is build some context-sensitive help resources. So from the example on this slide, you can see in the profile area, where there used to be the little eye icon, we've put a little button that says What, How, See. And if a student clicks on this, it opens up a bigger text box with very specific information. So what am I to do here? How can I do it? And can I see an example? So on this slide, you can see that I've got links to the video resources and also an example of a profile page. And it is hoped that this sort of help will really help our students get to grips with the e-portfolio. It is hoped by doing the help in this way that every time we do an upgrade, it means we don't have to tinker about too much with the core code, and it makes it easier for us all to go through it. On the next slide, you can see that we've tried to create a workflow for students to work through for their assessments. Here they're asked to plan, then build, compile and finally submit their assessment when they're ready. This step-by-step workflow is really useful because it gives students a chance to really organise their work. Finally on this slide you'll see some examples of our student e-portfolios. Here we've got 2 peer mentors which are being used to inspire the second years who are about to use their e-portfolios. You can find out more by going to our e-portfolio help site mahara.solent.ac.uk/help. Our help site is completely open to you, so please go and have a look and give us some feedback. We've been inspired so much by the community, we just wanted to give something back, and I hope you can find something useful in there.
Thank you so much, Roger and Sam, both Sams. And then we're going to turn it over to Michele from Empire State.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Michele Forte. I'm an assistant professor at SUNY Empire State College. I'm going to be describing one section, one sliver of a Lumina grant. We received, Nan Travers is our principal investigator from Empire State, and actually a colleague from Empire State is in the audience, Betty Hurley. So we got this limited grant to really assess experiential learning through open educational resources, so OERs. One of the goals was to speed time to completion, to really think about how some of the knowledge gained through OER could be assessed and translated into college credit. But so the part of the pilot, which I'm representing, is how we used Moodle and Mahara to think about prior learning with our students at Empire State College. So Empire State has a little bit of a non-traditional slice of the SUNY system. We see our students getting a little bit younger, but in general our average age is 35. Working adults who stopped out and who come to us with lots and lots of learning independent of the official academic environment. So prior learning is a way that we can help them, again, speed time to completion, really think about the ways in which they can develop their own degree plans with knowledge that they bring and learning that they bring in advance of the more formal studies. So we used Moodle and Mahara in 3 pilots at the Center for Distance Learning where I teach, in our Buffalo unit and Brooklyn, to create tools and use Mahara as an environment to help students understand how they will be assessed in these prior learning evaluations. So to at once extract their learning, help them express their learning, but then also focus on the assessment piece. Students would very often come to these evaluations and not really understand how their learning aligned with assessment. So that's sort of how we engaged the learning and assessment and aligned the learning and assessment for students. We wanted it to be very transparent. We didn't want to replace the mentor. It's still a very mentor-centric conversation. But we're hoping that the tools help make it easier. Yeah, thanks, Kristina. And these are some of the words that we use to sort of populate our own thinking when we were thinking about how to create the tools that I will discuss in a second. And again, we wanted to broaden the scope of inquiry and empower students, but not devalue or erase the necessity of a mentor or a faculty member helping students. So we created what we've come to call the Global Learning Qualifications Framework. And this is a creation in process. It's absolutely an assessment. Betty's laughing because we just had a face-to-face meeting last week, and it most assuredly is in process. We think of it as an assessment framework. It's a framework we created using indicators and descriptors from over 90 countries. We have overarching constructs, which you can see on, I think on the next slide. That's actually one of our students. And then we have 8 learning domains through which and in which and under which we have prompts. So questions that we can help students, again, begin to think about their learning. And then through these themed constructs and descriptors, we turn to a Moodle course, which we think of a little bit as an informational space. So Moodle sets the context for what students will then do in the Mahara space, which we think a little bit more as a sandbox. So it's a little bit of, a workbook, a sandbox. And we use the Global Learning Qualifications Framework. I've been encouraged not to use as many acronyms. So, because, sort of as a backdrop. And the decision we made, I think almost intuitively, is that it should sit behind Mahara and Moodle. So we use the framework to probe students, but we don't let them know that that's what we're using. The questions are really very complex, right? And the learning domains are complex. We have expert panelists advising us, and they said, well, this is really great, but you're still speaking in super academic language. So if your goal is to be more student-centric, then do so. What exactly do you mean by theoretical? What exactly do you, so we constantly try to strip down our language. And despite that, and the Moodle space and the Mahara spaces are great, where we have videos, what is PLA, how do I use these spaces, if we could go to the next, so despite our best efforts, we still have feedback that speak to sort of the technology piece, and then also the difficulty with the metacognitive parts of what it means to assess one's own learning, and the ways in which Mahara is encouraging students to think about that. So we use Moodle as our LMS. Students were familiar with the Moodle course. They really appreciated the discussions in the Moodle course. Mahara, we're getting there. Betty's making a face. If she wasn't in the room, I'd say we were getting there. But since she's making a face, I'd say, we're getting there. So the panelist, the presentation before us, it is a cultural shift, right? E-portfolio in general is a cultural shift. So students responded to that. And in one pilot, one especially robust pilot in Niagara, in our Niagara unit, one of the students took our workbook in Mahara, right, our templates in Mahara, and said, that's nice. I think I understand that. And then actually created her own prompts. And her suggestions are based on some of those prompts. She wants more video instruction. She wanted more stripped down language. And what's interesting to us is that the entire process is iterative. So Mahara allows us, Beth, to your point, to continue these conversations with students, and we're able to have this very flexible tool as they dig deeper into their own learning. And we don't have to tell them what they're doing. We just use the tools to do it, which is great. So we are in process. I think that moving forward, we'd like to pilot more. We'd like to have other institutions join us, hint, hint. And we'd also like to think about ways that we can expand it not only across our own college, but also across the SUNY system, which would be really great. So that's like a super quick of 2 years of work. And now we have my colleague from Pratt who's using it for faculty development, right? Yeah.
Well, we are using it.
Yes.
Overall. I'm the Director of Educational Technology at Pratt and Pratt Institute. I've been attending AAEEBL since its beginnings, And connecting here with Kristina Hoeppner from Catalyst and the MUG Users Group opened a constructive corridor where I've been invited to conceptualize and realize the distinctive needs of the portfolio from my institution. Pratt is an art school where portfolios are part and parcel of the educational and professional experience. It has a distinctive relationship to e-portfolio resistance. You might find it ironic that art schools do not lead the move and the push for e-portfolio, but it makes sense. It's exactly because portfolios are so traditionally essential to art and architecture that e-portfolio could meet with this kind of resistance. To each artistic discipline, portfolio has a particular connotation and a strong emphasis on materials specific to that discipline. So at Pratt, the push for the use of e-portfolio came not from the art and architecture portfolio-based disciplines, but from the School of Library Sciences and from the intensive English program. It's the intensive English program that is the power user of the platform at Pratt, because they go beyond using portfolio as a showcase and develop it into a pedagogical tool, which is the platform's strength. My department is following the IEP lead in developing our Mahara. We want to develop it into an e-portfolio tool that is as transparent as possible so that the medium and the pedagogy support each other in meaningful ways. As a language-based program, IEP is designed to teach and assess multimodally. They address in here the whole student, recognizing the essentiality of a student's artistic endeavor, even in their language learning and in assessment of language use. So I'm going to give you Nancy Seidler, the director of IEP. Her work in adhering her program's pedagogy to this tool now serves as a model for further institutional growth. Our direction is to keep refining our e-portfolio to reflect the arts pedagogy at Pratt, building a platform that frames the processes involved in pedagogy of creativity.
Thank you, Gale. So I thought I'd give you sort of an overview of what the intensive English program is and how our use of portfolio has evolved in our program that supports the learner-centered pedagogy that we employ in our program. In the intensive English program, we work with international students to support their English language learning so that they can perform academically in their liberal arts courses, professionally for graduate students in their fields, and in their studio. It's a wide range of skills that they need to be able to demonstrate and to be able to improve. They work both visually and verbally, and so our program is really contextualized for that experience. Students need to be able to use their language to support their visual skills and their visual skills to illustrate what it is that they're trying to say with the language. So in order to do that, we needed an assessment mechanism that was as rich as the pedagogy that was going on in our classrooms. So I'd like to introduce you to Mahara 0.0. We started using portfolio as our assessment mechanism long before there even was an e-portfolio, at least at Pratt. I know that in English language programs in Hong Kong, they had in-house IT departments that started generating e-portfolio platforms, but we did not have the capacity to do that. We had lots of paper though, and we had lots of muscle to carry around these portfolios. So we moved away from a really reductive kind of language testing that was focused on discrete-based multiple choice comprehension questions and grammar points to allow students to demonstrate all that they could do with language. They presented their skills in reading, writing, speaking, and listening using this platform. And they used this magical thing, called tabs. I cannot tell you how important this little thing is right here.
And the owls.
The owls are important too. Maybe we can take a look. We needed something that was not only visual. We needed students to be able to demonstrate what they're doing in speaking, what they're doing in listening, how these things are integrated, and how they interact with each other. So we pushed very hard for Pratt to adopt a new portfolio platform. After reviewing some different possibilities, Pratt decided to go with Mahara. I think primarily for financial reasons, but we feel pretty happy that they made that decision at this point. So here's an example of our very first e-portfolio. We now have the capacity to allow students to incorporate all different kinds of artifacts. So there are examples of presentations that they did, examples of critiques that they worked through, examples of conversations and group work that they did. Here we have this really exuberant display of everything a student had accomplished throughout the semester. And we have everything, and it's all over the place. The first version of Mahara offered us a blank page. We had lots of flexibility and lots of responsibility, and we had lots of issues with usability. So students had this blank page, and it was really overwhelming. What do we do? How do we do this? In our program, we were, I don't know if I should say smart enough or lucky enough. We were both smart enough and lucky enough to hire an English language instructor who was also a technology person. So he's our technology coordinator. And he spent, I think you guys know Rashid, a lot of his time holding hands, walking the faculty through the process, walking the students through the process, going to each class and giving demonstrations. It was a tremendous use of his time. Like I said, lots of responsibility and flexibility. It was very overwhelming, to say the least. So reading, writing, speaking, listening, all on one page. In response to the issues that we have, we worked very closely with Gale in educational technology and with Kristina at Catalyst to create something new. Here you see a template. This is a copyable collection that students can click on and just download the whole thing. And what they have here is, you'll see along the top row the tabs for reading, writing, speaking, and listening. You'll see the columns already created with what it is that we expect to put into those columns, and more magic, lots of magic at Pratt. Next slide. You'll see that toggle. Students download it with the instructions of what it is that we expect, the kinds of potential artifacts that they might think of including, and how it is that we want them to frame their reflections. So all of that is there. Each tab has a different set of instructions, and they get it all in one click. Maybe we can take a look at what this means for us. We were able to include some more possibilities for what students could include now that we had a way to organize it. So along the top, in addition to the language skills, we also have accuracy, learning log, and studio experience. For us, incorporating the studio experience into the language program is a really key element of what it is that we do. So we have this lovely template, and if you go to the next one, you'll get an overview. Oh, it's very hard to see, sorry. But you get a sense of how much easier it is for instructors to engage with what's there. This is one skill. This is the reading section. The artifacts are there with the description of the assignment and the reflection. And if we zoom in a little closer, you'll get a sense of what it means to teach language at PAC, where the students really use their visual skills to demonstrate what it is that they are doing with language. So next we have Marylena from Plymouth.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Marylena. I am an instructional technologist and teaching lecturer at Penn State University in central New Hampshire. Is this working? So one of our goals at Plymouth State is to promote a culture of sustainability. And one way that we are doing that is by reducing our paper waste. And for big institutional purposes. So templates in Mahara have really helped us to start doing that and start reducing all of that waste that all of these processes take. So one of the very formerly processes that used a lot of paper was the academic program review. And this is when academic departments and programs within those departments go under a self-study where they have to look at their effectiveness of teaching, the student learning, reassess their goals and see if they're meeting those goals. So it's a pretty lengthy document and sometimes takes more than one faculty member to be working on that. So we set up a process. The Dean of the College of Art and Sciences came to me and said, how can we work with the portfolios to do this? So what we've done is we create a group, the College of Art and Science Academic Program Review. So the nice thing about groups in Mahara is that you can go in and just add members to the group. And so we set up a group, and I add all of the chairs to those groups as needed. They go in, there's directions there on what they need to do to then copy the template. And the next thing that we do is something that is very exciting to me because I create a department group. And so it's exciting to me because I would love for departments to be using these groups on a regular basis. I add all of the faculty to that group. And then this is a space where faculty can collaborate. They can share files, they can put their CVs, syllabi, anything that pertains to the department and communicate that way. So it's kind of a repository for the department. And in this sense, they also, they copy their template for the self-study into there. And they can all collaborate and work on that together. We don't have to pass papers around or send emails. They just simply go to the group and can see what other people have done, see the files that people have put in there. So on the right-hand side, you can see that is a sample of the group. And then there's a sample of the template right there is on the bottom. So they collaborate on that. And once they are finalized with that, they then submit that to the deans and the provost for review. Another process that was very, very paper-laden is the promotion and tenure process. And I'm sure some of you are familiar with that process of filling out a very long series of paperwork. And my husband went through the old process, so I'm very familiar with that. And so then taking a copy of that huge pile of papers and making a copy for each of your committee members. So it could be 5 or 6 members. And then in addition to that, having a box of supporting materials that then has to get passed around to each committee member. From there, they all look at it, they pass it to the chair, who then looks at it and passes it to the dean and the provost and the president. So it's a time-consuming and lots of paper. So coming up with the Mahara e-portfolio cut out a lot of that, made it more efficient process. So again, there's a group for promotion and tenure for candidates. So the candidates are added to that group, all the directions and everything they need there. Then they copy the promotion and tenure template into their personal account. And then that's where on the right-hand side, there's 2 examples. They can use that. There's different tabs already set up for each of the different types of things they need to put in there for the teaching, their scholarship, service. And some of them have really done a great job of, they'll create Mahara pages specifically for courses, and they can incorporate video and lots of pictures, so it's really a much richer document than just looking at a Word document. When they are done with their process, they then, I will set up a group for their committee. So everybody in the committee has access to the group, as well as the dean, the provost, and the president. So their portfolio is submitted to the group. The candidates taken out of the group. And so then everybody in the group is able to look at that and review all of their materials at the same time. They don't have to pass anything around. Very multimedia, so they can look at scanned documents in there. And then when they're ready, they can upload a file that says, okay, this is good, to the group. And each person along the way gets to do that. And at the end, the candidate is added back to the group so they can review all of those things. And then the final one I'll show you is the teacher preparation educational program. We've got over 40 teacher preparation programs, and each one of them has a set of standards that they have to adhere to, whether it's state, national, or professional association. They are all kind of in a different place with that. So I work with each of the department programs to create a template that's based on those standards. So they're all different. And so the first top slide there shows the educator prep template links. So it shows each of from the dashboard page in Mahara, which is kind of like the home page. Each person in one of these programs can click one of those links, and it takes them to this page, and they can review what the template looks like, make sure it's the right one, and then it's kind of cut off there, but then there's directions that they download for each one, a PDF file. So they copy their template, and then 2 examples on the right of populating that. So basically what will happen is I suggest early in the semester that faculty take their classes in. I train them face-to-face, copy their templates right then and there, and also have them send their secret URL to their instructor at that moment. At that point, I would love for them to go to their program group and create a file and put it in there. So then all of the faculty would then have access to that for the 4 years that they're at college. And then, can see them progressing over time and how they are, doing, check up on them, make sure they're on task. So then it's, what was my final thing? Wait, go back.
That was the final one.
That was my train of thought.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so for the assessment. But ultimately, this is for an assessment tool. So the physical education home thing is for each of the departments has another assessment page, which is outside of those department pages. It's run by the assessment area. And so they then are able to put those, exemplary ones right into there, so that when the assessment people come, they can click on those links and show those e-portfolios right there. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so, and then to just finalize with one exemplary portfolio of a student who just did a really nice job of customizing Mahara. I think that, sometimes it can be a little cumbersome, but if once you learn how to kind of work with it, and this was with the old version, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do with the latest version with all the customizing. So overall, we've just had a good experience with being able to sort of, persist with our sustainability mission. And so I'll pass the torch over to you.
our fearless leader.
Thank you, Marylena. And so what does the future hold for Mahara? And I'm not going to talk about any new features or so, because if you're already a Mahara user, you know that we are bringing out a new release twice a year, so in April and in October. But what I'm interested more in kind of letting you know is that we are continuing with the Mahara user groups, and they are really self-organizing. So as you've seen, the New York group started with Pace University and also Purchase College. Then the Mahara user groups in the UK organized themselves. In Japan, they've been working on their own. And also the German group was set up. And so we are looking forward to seeing more groups getting started, getting together, discussing things, but also, as the New York group has shown, interact with each other so that the individual MAC groups aren't isolated, but also talk to each other. And we from the project side do want to support these things. And we are actually also going to have our first Kiwi MAC user group in September this year. So we are going to make the announcement about that very soon. Everybody is, of course, invited to attend, but hopefully we'll also get some live streaming going, because I know that it's very difficult to come down to us in New Zealand. And so the important thing about Mahara is not just the functionality, but it is really the people who are using it. So we do encourage everyone to participate in one form or the other. Let us know through the Mahara user groups what you would like to see. The conversations that Pace and Solent have had around usability have been really, really valuable, and a number of these things will go into future releases of Mahara, because the software is nothing without its users. Users are so incredibly important, because we do want to be there for the users and not forcing users into a scheme that the software sets. So all these discussions that we've been having in the groups or with individual users are extremely important in order to also decide the direction of what Mahara will look like in the future. And that's why we've brought this panel together, to give you a glimpse of what different areas users are currently interested in, what they're looking at, so that you who might already be Mahara users or who are thinking of becoming Mahara users can connect with them. Contact Beth, contact Sam, contact Marylena, or anybody else on the panel, or also who's not on the panel, and see what they are doing. Discuss your things, especially if they are very similar, or if you're thinking about doing something similar. Get in touch with everyone and make use of the community. And another Padlet here for you, where you can just let us know your visions and your dreams for the software within the next 5 to 6 years. Where do you want to take your ePortfolio software? Where do you want us to put a focus on in the development work? We are there for the users to make it so that the software works for you and your students and also your faculty, because we don't want to develop in a void. And just to hand over now, because we've been talking so much about MAC, when can you join the next MAC group?
You can join us face-to-face, or hopefully online too, on Tuesday, August 5th, so lost with travel here, at 11 o'clock at Pratt Institute, and we hope you'll join us. We find that it's really great when we can to meet somewhat face-to-face, although travel is hard, and we work well online too. But as you can hear from our panelists, there's a lot of overlap, a lot of common themes. And by sharing our work together, we just get stronger in our individual institutions. So we'd like to open up the conversation for question and answer, and also invite you to join us for lunch today. There's Spark tables, or Birds of a Feather tables, and there will be an open source ePortfolio table that we'll all be at, so we invite you to join us for that. So does anyone have any questions for any of us? Yeah.
Are all the customizations that your college has done given back to the open source community?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Do you want to answer that, or do you want me to?
You can say what you
I mean, from my vantage point, what we've done a lot of customizations at Pace. We definitely haven't. We're not using Mahara out of the box, as we like to say. But we do, over the years, we have scaled back with the customizations we've needed, because Mahara has, I think, listened to us, and others have wanted similar things. So as Mahara continues to improve, we've needed fewer customizations. And now what we're trying to do is be more proactive through the MUG groups to influence and let Kristina and the developers at Mahara know these are wish list items, and so it's a very collaborative process. But my goal is that we would ultimately need to customize very little, because all our hopes and dreams will be fulfilled by Mahara out of the box. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I must say we are in a very fortunate position that a lot of people that we at Catalyst work with get open source. And they do understand, well, in order to make an open source product better, because you can install it for free, so you don't have to get in touch with us or get in touch with the project. You can just put it on your server and you don't incur any external costs. But that, of course, in order to make the software better, there must be some sort of investment. And most of the institutions that we work with in the Mahara context recognize that, realize that, and actually kind of already implicitly say, yes, this can go back to Mahara core. Of course, we always ask because there are costs involved for the universities or associations kind of requesting these features. But so far, we have yet to meet somebody who says, no, I don't want that at all in core Mahara. And since the software is still growing and we have a lot of different use cases and get more different ways of utilizing portfolios, we try to put as much as possible back into core in such a way that it is flexible enough for a lot of institutions. So what we as project look at is, and that's why a number of the PACE things haven't made it back into core, because they were so specific, integration with just Banner for that particular purpose. Whereas when we put something back into core, we need to make sure that it works for everyone. So that's why more settings need to be included or some other things. But we do realize that it is important for people to be able to use the software out of the box and see that they get far without having too many customizations. And if you're interested in any development work, please do consider contributing it back to the core project, because open source is a give and take. One time you might pay for a feature and the next time you get a feature because somebody else pays for it, and everybody just has more possibilities, because a lot of times we do similar things around the world, and therefore an idea at one institution can be really valuable for another institution as well, because they're either already thinking about that same topic, or it sparks a conversation and makes them realize, oh, that is actually cool how we could also use it. George.
Would it be useful to have a repository of templates? And a lot of people are developing specific, or are those too specific, do you think?
I think it would be a great idea. I'm all about collecting things from the community. If you go to our wiki.mahara.org, we have themes that people have shared that we don't put back into the core product. We also have the user manual at manual.mahara.org, where we have recently just put out a call to the entire community and asking for more collaboration, especially in sharing videos or sharing workflows. How do you get from A to B? And template search would be a really, really fantastic thing as well, because you can export any page that you created or any collection that you created in any portfolio as a lib2a file, just that one page or just that one collection, and can then share that, put that on the wiki, and somebody else can repurpose it. Very good idea, and we'll definitely set something up for that very soon. Yeah. Yes, please.
Is there anything happening with badges with Mahara?
That's my favorite topic.
Very good question. So I'll hand over to Beth, because she's been playing with that, and hopefully we'll actually have a brief demo also at the meeting at Pratt next week.
Yeah, this is my new favorite topic and hobby, and now I say my mantra is collect, select, reflect, and badge. So I got to come up with a better way to rhyme that. But yeah, so we just upgraded to Mahara 1.9.1, and there, I think in the previous version in 1.8, there's a plugin, a Mozilla Open Badge plugin, and I got it working, and it's fabulous, and you can easily import badges. As long as you set up a Mozilla backpack, you can import and display so nicely on Mahara pages and include text and descriptions of that. And I just think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a game changer for e-portfolios for us, because e-portfolios are so powerful, but now with this whole badging movement, we're going to have a real way to sort of recognize competency-based learning and accomplishments along the way, and accomplishments that happen external to our institution, and I'm really excited about it. So please join our conversations through our mug channels so we can talk more about that.
And there is actually also a second plugin in development by a Finnish group, Descendo, who developed that badge displayer plugin. They are also working on a badge issuer plugin. And that currently ties in with the Open Badge Factory that is maintained by Mozilla. So if you have, you just need to set up an account there. Currently it's in trial, so you kind of need to answer some questions at some point. But when you install the plugin within Mahara, when you're in a group, you can issue badges directly from within Mahara that are then kind of issued through the Open Badge Factory, which can go into your backpack, and then you can display it through the other plugin. So if you want to use any of these plugins, they are freely available. We are also linking to them through the user manual, at least the displayer one, and from there you can get to the issuer one. And we'd be very interested in receiving feedback because I said the plugins are still in development, and so you can influence how the future should look like of those plugins yourself. Maybe, one last question because we are getting a little bit over time, but please do talk to any one of us afterwards and also tomorrow. Yes, please.
I just wanted to ask if you could speak a little bit about what the updates we'll see in October 2014 with the new existing Mahara.
Okay. For 2014, for October, we already have a number of new features in development, or a number actually already committed to the code that we know for sure will be there. And a number of them currently really go around more of the backend, so infrastructure. And so that you can kind of get notifications for group pages that you haven't been able to get before when you wanted to work collaboratively. Or that we have a generic plugin type, making it easier for people developing plugins to put them into the system without having to decide, is it an artifact or is it a block? And also being able to have theme overrides so that you can theme plugins more easily. Because yes, we ship Mahara with a certain look and feel, but some people, kind of like arts colleges, are very creative, so they do want to have something else. And in the past, it was not so easy to make those changes for plugins, especially also because you don't really want to make changes to the core code too much, but kind of keep those localized so that you can upgrade without too many problems. Then we also have objectionable content button for forums and groups. So far that was only on portfolio pages. And one of the biggest features that is going to get in there is around notifications, because that is development work out of Germany, Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. And there you will be able to send notifications to more than one person. So that is really a big thing. It might sound like not much, but it's actually quite big infrastructural-wise. And then a few smaller ones as well. What we are currently also working on, again, is a big infrastructural thing about archiving of submitted portfolios. So that when you submit a portfolio to a Mahara group and eventually also to Moodle, that those things will be archived before they are released back to the students, so that the institutions, and I hear the clapping, that the institution can keep a permanent record of it, because it is oftentimes associated with grades. So please thank the University of Canberra, who are making that possible, that initial funding for getting that infrastructure work going and also connecting it to Moodle. And as with a lot of features that you can see in Mahara, if you don't like something or how it's implemented right now, let us know. Give your opinion, because oftentimes things get implemented in a first step, but that does not mean that it needs to look like that in the future. It's because it also depends on how much funding is available or how much time we have, but we definitely try to get in the archiving of Mahara pages within Mahara going for October. The Moodle integration may still have to wait because Moodle is thinking about upgrading to LTI 2, and therefore we are waiting for that new functionality to be in there. But other than that, please also always test things, let us know how you like it, so that we know whether we are on the right track or not. But yeah, a number of new things that you can look forward to in October. And we have 2 releases because we do realize that institutions often can only or want to upgrade only once a year. So April is kind of for the Northern Hemisphere and October for the Southern Hemisphere. But if you can't wait for another 6 months, then you're of course always welcome to upgrade everything. And so far we even still have an upgrade path from Mahara 1.1. So it kind of still works also from really unsupported versions.
Yeah, I think that's
okay. Yeah, thank you so much for
Thanks, everyone.
coming to our session.